Okay. Well, thank you to everyone who's joining and watching this video, whether you're watching this on YouTube or watching this live while it's happening in the moment now. And yeah, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Erik Archbold, and I've been studying A Course in Miracles for several years, probably about, oops, hang on just one second. Just need to pause something. Yeah, it's been, I think 2003 was when I first came across The Disappearance of the Universe, which was a book that was about A Course in Miracles, and that really, really opened the door to the teachings for me. I had heard of A Course in Miracles prior to that, and I had actually tried to do the workbook at one point, but it never really made sense to me fully. I thought I may have understood it, but I was actually more into the Conversations with God books by Neil Donald Walsh at that point. And so I was kind of reading the Course through that filter. And it wasn't until, I think it was 2003 when I was in a bookstore in Maine, it was actually in Lewiston, Maine, which is really close to where Gary Renard, the author, was living at the time. And it was kind of synchronistic that I found his book in that same city there at the bookstore. And I remember opening it up and starting to read the book. And I was really kind of at my wit's end with spirituality. I was kind of feeling like there's got to be some missing piece that I don't understand. There's something about this universe that doesn't make sense to me. And something feels like it hasn't been answered by everything I've read prior. And so when I opened up Disappearance of the Universe, it was pretty soon, I think in the first chapter, when the teachers in that book tell Gary that basically that this whole universe, this whole cosmos, this whole world is an invention of the ego, and that God has nothing to do with it and had nothing to do with it and actually knows nothing about it at all. And I remember just feeling a sense of relief, actually, that I think some people might read that and it might just strike a lot of fear into their heart. But I was just at that point where I felt that something is amiss with this world, and it doesn't make sense that God would have created a world like this, where there's all this duality and where things are so confusing and we're always getting tripped up. So around this time, I actually had been a hypnotherapist as well for, I think, about 5 years. And I had gotten into hypnotherapy in college, actually, because I was very, very shy, and I felt insecure, and I felt lonely. I felt like I had friends. I had like a core group of friends, but I felt like I wanted more intimacy with women, and I wanted to be more popular. I wanted to learn how to connect with people more and be able to feel comfortable in social situations and parties and things like that. And looking back, it was really just this deep insecurity that needed to be healed, not necessarily by covering it over with some kind of false confidence, but something that needed to be transcended through a deep spiritual contemplation and an inner looking at what's inside. And hypnotherapy at that time just seemed like something that it was a tool that felt like it could open up my mind. And at the time, I actually was using it for a kind of a double purpose. I was reading this book that was talking about how you can use hypnosis to be more attractive and more persuasive with people. And that felt a little bit manipulative to me, but at the time I was so insecure. I felt like, well, anything that will help me feel more confident when I'm communicating with people is a good thing. And then the other side of it was to use it not on other people, but on myself, so that I could heal the insecurity. And I was at a pretty I would say, early stage of my spiritual path at that time. And so I wasn't really aware of some of the principles that I'm aware of now, such as how you have to go through the darkness inside in order to find the light that actually is the truth of our being. At that time, I just felt like I needed a better self-image. And I was reading books that talked about create your own reality and create a new self-image, and basically, cover up whatever you're feeling. They didn't put it this way, but looking back, it was like, make a better mask that will serve you better when you're interacting with the world. And I think that was kind of a stepping stone that I needed, because it was something that was pointing to the power of my mind. And that's a very, very important step in the spiritual journey. And hypnotherapy is a tool that can definitely help people do that, but it's really not the ultimate state of mind or the ultimate goal that we have as we could say as spiritual beings, or those who are consciously wanting to awaken from the dream and realize our divinity. It was a tool that I definitely got quite good at. I felt like I started to be able to create a new image of myself, a new self-image that was more confident, more relaxed. Yeah, just a kind of a stronger sense of being Erik. But ultimately, it didn't really make me happier. And I had to actually keep diving deeper and deeper and deeper, to the point where I realized what I was reading from A Course in Miracles was necessary. It was something I needed to really grasp. This idea that it's not that I need to build a better self-concept, but that I need to see that I'm not the self that feels insecure, that self isn't really the true self that I am, and that it actually just needs to be forgiven and seen through, and that all the goals that I had at that time, which were, basically having a better dating life, making more money, being healthier physically and so forth, that all those goals were actually distracting me from the true solution to all of them, which is forgiveness. And forgiveness, I would say, is the core teaching of A Course in Miracles. It's really about coming to a state of pure acceptance, pure non-judgment, and recognizing that the truth is beyond this world completely, that the truth is beyond duality, and that the truth is invulnerable, and that the truth is who we are, and that who we are is a pure, perfect creation of God that doesn't need to be improved upon. The self that thinks it needs to improve is really just the ego self that we've identified with. And really our goal is to transcend that ego self, not to build it up and make a better ego, but to forgive the ego, to see right through it, to see, like it says in A Course in Miracles, to see the false as false. And so that's what I want to talk about during this call, or during this hangout. And I'm actually going to be guiding everyone through a hypnotherapy session that will help, not to give you something in terms of making you a better something, but really to help relieve you of guilt and addictions and grievances in the mind that are just kind of lying there dormant. Hypnotherapy is a tool that can be very helpful in sinking down beneath the thoughts in the mind and getting in touch with that which has been unconscious. In fact, our entire existence as human beings, it seems to be very real, like we're living this very real existence on the surface of things. But what it's actually built on, as A Course in Miracles teaches, is like it talks about it as a ring of fear, that our true reality in God is something that we have denied. We've basically chosen against it out of fear, and because of that kind of separation, which is really just a mental separating from our source, there's been this experience of profound guilt that has seemed to come about in our awareness, to replace the pure innocence that we are. And on top of this guilt, in order to repress it and to get rid of it somehow, the ego has basically advised us, we could say the mind that we share, to project the guilt out and make up an entire universe in which we can see the guilt anywhere but where it actually is, which is in the mind. And so that's why we seem to have problems in this world, where we see other people as being egotistical, so that we can see them as being the problem. Or we seem to have problems in our own life where we seem to act egotistical. And it's really not, the problem isn't really in us personally or in anyone else personally. The problem of guilt is really in the filter that the mind is looking through. We could say that on a very deep level, what we are is an infinite mind, and it's an infinitely powerful mind that's been created by God, exactly as God, or in God's image or likeness, we could say. Not really image, because God doesn't have an image, but in the likeness of God. And that this mind that we are has simply misused the power of creation to miscreate a sense of separation, and then project out a whole cosmos that seems to displace the guilt that we have felt for that separation. So that's really the problem. And anything that we experience as a problem in our personal life, doesn't matter whether it's a cut on or stubbing a toe, or a major relationship issue that we're having with somebody, or some kind of financial crisis that we're going through, or a health issue. All of these specific problems are really just symbols. They're like dream symbols that are symbolic of the deeper problem of separation, the belief that we could actually have separated from God, which is really impossible. Because if you realize that God is everywhere, then how can you separate from that which is everywhere? So yeah, I wanted to just go into things, that's kind of an overall context, and I want to get more into hypnosis and hypnotherapy, and what they actually are and how they can be useful, as well as music. But I first just wanted to pause and ask if those of you who are in the room have any thoughts you want to share. We probably will do this again a little bit later, right before the hypnotherapy session. Because if there's anything that you feel is going on in your own life or in your own psyche that feels unresolved, that feels like that you'd like to have some kind of a healing around, then that can be really helpful to share before we go into the hypnotherapy session, because I can then incorporate the ideas that Spirit gives me for your particular specific issues. Even though ultimately, like I just said, it's all one and the same, that every problem is the same problem. It can be very helpful when specific issues are raised and exposed. And it doesn't mean you have to speak about things in a very specific way, but just to say anything could be helpful for, just opening up and just sharing too, if you have any questions about hypnotherapy, or just any thoughts that feel like they could be helpful to share with the group, then please do so.
Hi.
Hi.
The specific issue for me is addiction. and bad relationship with food and eating. It's been constant since I left the toddler stage of life. And that's my ever-present issue.
Hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, I have a similar issue with health, and yeah, I seem to have symptoms, different health symptoms, and then my mind gets preoccupied with the health of the body and foods and eating the right foods, and now I seem to have like developed allergies where I can't eat certain foods or I'll feel like I get sick, and yeah, I just feel like my mind gets really preoccupied with that, and yeah, just worries about health and yeah, thinking.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Health and food and addiction. It's all good things to go into. And Christina, did you have anything that you wanted to share?
There we go.
Yeah.
Me, I think it's what I'm aware of right now is pain, like specifically TMJ, that it's just been really chronic, and so muscle tension, and it's kind of throughout my body. Um, Maybe it's kind of related to PTSD, I don't know, but it kind of moves around to different places, and but it's almost always there. It's kind of like this involuntary tension that crops up.
Hmm. Yeah. Great. Well, thank you
Mm-hmm.
for sharing that. And if you could just mute your microphone again, Christina, that'd be great. Okay, so that's some good starting points, and yeah, I think what I'll do is to share a little bit about how hypnotherapy actually works. Some of you may have experienced it before, and some of you may not have experienced it before. But one thing that I used to do when I was working as a clinical hypnotherapist, I basically started doing private sessions for about 6 months. I did a lot of private sessions, and then I got a job as a group hypnotherapist. And I started traveling around the country for this nonprofit organization that had hired me to basically go into towns and put on a free clinic for the public. It was like a 2-hour seminar slash clinic where people could come, and it was really focused on weight loss and smoking cessation, as well as with stress relief. And it was so helpful for me as a career. I was in my kind of mid 20s when I started this. I'm 37 now, and back then it was just a perfect job for a young bachelor. I just was traveling, and I was free to just basically work as much as I wanted to, and do that, something that I felt was very meaningful and also outside my comfort zone, because I had never done public speaking before that. But I felt that there was something really, really profound about just connecting with people and sharing tools and techniques, and using therapeutic processes that could actually make a major difference in someone's life, where just one session could actually cause there to be a pop in their mind, where something that had been an addiction for a long, long, long time, perhaps their whole life, could suddenly just be released. And there was a lot of things I did in those sessions that I think was very powerful. There was a lot of direct suggestion, where you guide someone into a deep state of hypnosis where they're just very receptive, they're just very open, and you basically tell them that they don't need the drug anymore, whatever the drug is, whether the drug is food or cigarettes or even stress and pain. Even those things, even though they don't seem like drugs, we could say from A Course in Miracles perspective, everything that we experience in this world is a drug. That because this entire world actually is like a drug that we're using to fill the hole or the gap that we believe is there from this idea of having separated from our source. At the time, I didn't know that, but I was using all these different hypnotherapeutic techniques, and we also had a section of the seminar where I would talk about forgiveness, and it was very powerful because we would have people go back and in hypnosis, I would have people go back and think of those who they may still have a grievance with. And I began to realize that this was where the real healing was at, that it wasn't really so much about changing their behavior on the surface, at least not directly, but it was about helping them to forgive the grievances that were still in their mind, maybe things that happened to them when they were a child, or maybe recent things that were still feeling like an anger towards somebody, or toward life, or toward God. Why did you do this to me, God? Things like that. And I found that when people actually could come to a state of forgiveness, that would often be the only thing that was needed, that the addiction would actually fall away by itself just from that I didn't even need to do additional sessions with them to kind of tell them that they're no longer addicted to cigarettes or whatever it was, because those addictions were really just there to deal with the pain of the grievance. And once the grievance was gone, they didn't need the addiction anymore. It sometimes would still sort of play out for a while. I would use the analogy of like a ceiling fan, that it's like a ceiling fan has been on for a long time, but we've just turned it off. And once you turn off a ceiling fan, it still seems to spin a little while, but we've basically taken the power out of it. So it's now slowing down, and it will slow to a stop. So anything that you perceive as an issue in your life, the things that all of you mentioned, pain and kind of health issues and food issues, all of them have the same source. And I'm basically speaking to everyone who's watching this video as well, that everything that you experience in your life as a problem, the underlying problem isn't what you think it is. It often gets, the human mind is always trying to find a cause, and it will look to environmental problems or environmental causes. It will look to causes in the past, like, well, my childhood was like this, therefore that's why I'm like this now, or they will look to their genes and blame it on their bad genes. But it's always really about an underlying grievance that exists now. Once the grievances are cleared from the mind, then the mind no longer has any desire to project the guilt out onto the body or onto other bodies. And so all health issues, all financial issues, all relationship issues are really coming from a deep feeling of guilt that may not be about something specific in one's life, but it's a guilt that is ontological. We could say it's the guilt for having attempted to separate from God, which didn't happen, but which is one believes happened. And so all forgiveness, I actually began to realize that all forgiveness is really a forgiveness of illusions, a forgiveness of what is believed in the mind, and that hypnosis is really, when used properly, it's really about unhypnotizing the mind from these false beliefs and from the guilt that was there. And that deep down, all any of us really want is to feel the innocence of our Christ self. That's who we are. The Christ is what we are, and everything that has been layered on top of the Christ mind is a false self-concept that is inevitably going to have problems because it isn't real, because it can't last. It's like faulty paint that was painted over something perfect, and then the faulty paint just crackles away because it's faulty and it's not the truth. So in hypnotherapy, a lot of times people wonder, well, what is hypnotherapy? What is hypnosis? What is the state of trance that I've seen people go into? You know, some of you may have seen those funny kind of comedy hypnosis shows where the hypnotist will, you know, have someone bark like a dog, or, you know, all these different antics, and it's pretty powerful when you see one of those shows, how you know, it really, like, people can really get into it. It looks like they really believe that they're a dog or something, you know, or when they believe that that they're invincible, and then they'll start running around and, you know, whatever the hypnotist tells them to do in the show and makes them believe. But it's really that they're not really being made to believe anything. They're simply open to suggestion. They're open to having a temporary experience of a different reality. And I wouldn't say there's anything therapeutic about that. That it makes for a great comedy show, but therapy, what I would call hypnotherapy as opposed to hypnosis, is when the person's actually being unhypnotized, and it still utilizes the state of trance, which I could say that trance is actually a very natural state of mind. It's actually the state of mind that we're in all the time, to varying degrees. But when I talk about trance from a hypnotherapy standpoint, it's kind of like a state of deep meditation and deep openness, where your mind is just so open to healing and so open to receiving positive suggestions that there isn't a barrier anymore. And really, the only hypnotherapist there is the Holy Spirit. I would say that the Holy Spirit is the master hypnotherapist. and when we are being hypnotized by another person, so to speak, we're really, if our mind is open to healing, then we're really being hypnotized by the Holy Spirit, by our own election, because it's always what our purpose is that determines which voice is speaking to us, whether we're hearing the Holy Spirit or the ego, either in our own mind or through another person, really depends on our purpose. And so, assuming that you came here with the purpose of healing, then everything that you hear will be used for that purpose by the Holy Spirit, and it will be coming from the Holy Spirit. And my purpose is really to be healed as well. I always felt that when I was doing the seminars, that it was really for me. And I would have this experience that when I was speaking, it was as if whatever was coming through me was exactly what I needed to hear. And even if I didn't realize that in the moment, you know, even if I actually believed that I was helping another person and that I was the helper, which is really arrogant, to be honest, because the only true helper is the spirit. But as long as I was believing that, the words would still come through. But then later, I would often have these experiences of remembering what I said and going, wow, that was something I really needed to hear myself. So yeah, it was very powerful. And sometimes people have fears about being hypnotized because it seems like a state of mind in which you don't have control. And I can really only address that by saying that the truth is that control is an illusion itself. And we never really have control anyway. We're always, except for about the direction of our thinking, or we could say our purpose. If we're choosing, that we do have a choice between whether we're listening to the spirit and choosing the spirit's purpose, or listening to the ego and following the ego's purpose. But that's really the only control that we have. There's a line in A Course in Miracles that says that basically that our behavior comes from our thought, that all thought produces behavior at some level. And so it's our thoughts that are really causing our behavior. And so the only, like I said, the only control we have is at that level of thought. We don't really have control at the behavioral level, but it definitely seems that we do, especially when we're listening to the ego. So in these sessions, nothing really changes. When I'm hypnotizing someone, if they, one thing they sometimes wonder is, well, what if there was like a fire suddenly in my house or wherever we are, would I be able to respond, quick enough, or would I just be in this like deep state of trance and clueless? And they actually have done studies where they found that when people are in hypnosis, they actually respond quicker to an emergency type situation than those who are just in a regular state of mind. They found there was an apartment where this actually happened. Apparently that the apartment suddenly went on fire, and there was a hypnotherapy session going on in one of the offices, and the client who was in hypnosis was actually one of the first people out of the building, even though they were up somewhere in the middle of the apartment building. They immediately popped out of hypnosis because they were so relaxed and so, basically they were so present. Hypnosis is really a state of presence. And when I say hypnosis, I should actually clarify that. It really means I would say the state of receptivity. Because hypnosis, I think, can also be used as a term for sleep. And I would say that hypnosis, when we talk about it as an egoic state, which it really is, the ego is the one that hypnotized the mind. We could say metaphysically, the mind was hypnotized by the ego. And now that the Holy Spirit has to unhypnotize the mind from the ego. So when someone is in a state of hypnosis, if it's being used for the purpose of healing, which would be by the Holy Spirit, then they're actually in a state of deep receptivity and openness, and therefore would be very alert, very present, very, very quick to respond to anything that came up because of that openness, because of the clarity that's going on in the mind. So while you're in the state of hypnosis, we could say during this session, which we'll start in just a little bit, you can expect to feel a very deep state of relaxation. It generally is felt as very, very peaceful, and you don't go to sleep. It can definitely feel like you're going into deeper states of mind where you're becoming very present with what's in your unconscious mind. And that's a good thing, because that's really what it's for, is getting in touch with the unconscious mind and moving through the layers of belief and the layers of resistance that keep us from being in touch with our source. It's almost like there's all these layers of belief that are between our conscious mind and our true reality that is like buried underneath everything that's been pushed into the unconscious mind. So yeah, it's generally felt as very relaxing and very peaceful because we're following a purpose that intuitively we know is our true purpose, this purpose of awakening, this purpose of forgiveness. And yeah, like I said before, it's really all about letting go of the judgment on the ego. Because as long as there's any judgments happening, then there's just a blockage that's created from judgment. So I thought what I would do to start is just play a song actually on my guitar that could just help to kind of guide us into a state of relaxation. And yeah, I did mention in the event description that I would talk a little bit about music as well, because music is so healing and helpful when it comes to hypnotherapy. It's just another tool that can help to focus the mind on what's important and help to kind of let go of all other thoughts of time and space and really just rivet the mind on its purpose. So I'm going to grab my guitar here and change it to studio mode. And this is a song that was written by my dear friend who I was married to and am no longer married to. Her name is Armel. We were married for 4 years, from 2009 to 2013, and I actually just spoke with her on the phone today on Skype and had just a really beautiful conversation. We were guided into a marriage that felt very, very healing, and then we were actually guided to get a divorce when it reached the point where it felt like we had learned all the lessons that we needed to learn together. And while we were together, we wrote several songs together that would come through her. She would write the lyrics and then bring the lyrics and the melody to me, and I would put together the song, the music. And this is one of them that's called No Need for More. And it's really about remembering that the only thing we really truly need is the Holy Spirit, or that intuitive remembrance of what's really important to us, and everything else can just fall away. I've been looking for a home, a place out in the world where I belong. It's been a sad song, been a sad song, but now I'm seeing the impossibility of rejection. There's no need for chasing after inclusion. It's just an illusion, just an illusion. No need for belonging anymore. I know who I belong to in the core. No need for more, no need for more, no need for more. Released in the inner freedom. No need to go anywhere, no need to run. There are no blocks nor walls, so I've no need for open doors. No need for belonging anymore. I know who I belong to in the core. No need for more. No need for more. No need for more. All that you give is all that I want. Perfect peace and joy for no reason. Perfect love and grace is my wisdom. It's all that I want. All that I want. It's all that I want. All that I want. It's all that I want. All that I want. Okay. So, does anybody who's in the room here need a quick break or anything? I just wanted, before we start the hypnotherapy, it sometimes can be helpful if you need to use the restroom really quick. You can just take a moment if anyone needs to. Okay, I hear a yes from one person. So go ahead and do that
I'm okay.
if you need to. And if any of you who are watching this want to go ahead and take a break as well, we'll just start in just a moment. I've never done this in a Google Hangout before, taking a break, but it feels appropriate right now. Yeah, and if any of you who are watching on the outside, if you have any questions, and if you feel like you want to share anything that you're going through right now, in a couple sentences or so that you'd like to have addressed during this hypnotherapy session, then feel free to type it in to the. I think if you're watching the video, you can click on there's like a yellow link that says join the audience or something like that, and if you click on that, it'll take you to a page where you can type in questions and comments. So if any of you watching want to do that, feel free. Just gonna check my email out for a second. Okay. Yeah, and it might be good as well for those of you in the room and for those of you watching, before we start, to just make sure that your cell phone is turned to silent or off if you don't want to be bothered. Yeah, this is really a precious time where some very deep healing can occur, so you want to just make sure that there aren't any possibilities of distractions coming up. Yeah, and if you have other people in the house, you might want to move to a quiet room. But I'm going to go ahead and start some music that I have on my iPhone, and this is some very beautiful music that was actually written by a Course in Miracles student named Ken Oman, and he and another musician named Shanti, Oman and Shanti, they would call themselves, they were like early Course in Miracle troubadours that would travel around, and I learned about them through David Hoffmeister and also through a book that I love called "The Peace of God is my one goal," that was written by Barbara and Robert Varley. They were like early pioneers of the Course as well, where they really just applied it to their life fully and followed whatever guidance that they were receiving from the Spirit. And Oman and Shanti, Oman is the one who wrote this music I'm about to play, traveled with Robert and Barbara back in, I think it was in the late 1970s and in the early 80s as well. So this is some classic music here, and yeah, I'll go ahead and start that, and then I'll just start into the session. So go ahead, and you may notice a shift in the audio quality of my voice. That's because I just put it on studio mode, which helps make the sound of the music I'm about to play come more crisply through the speakers. And yeah, if you want to go ahead and get comfortable, I don't think I'd recommend lying down, but I would recommend just sitting straight, putting both feet on the floor, flat on the floor, and having your hands on your lap. And that's usually considered the most helpful position for just really tuning the mind inward and being able to experience maximal healing therapeutic benefit. So, here we go. I'm going to start the music now. So go ahead and just begin to take deep breaths into your belly. A deep diaphragm breathing. And you can close your eyes whenever you choose, although you're free to open them whenever you like. And just begin to feel what's going on inside the body and inside the mind. It's really about getting in touch with this deep experience within. And so you may notice the way your hands feel, and you can just allow your hands to completely relax. And you can feel the relaxation in your feet. As you just let go and allow your ankles to uncouple. Allowing the body to simply be. No need to change anything. And even if there seems to be discomfort in certain parts of the body, you can allow that to be as well. It's all part of this experience. And nothing can be denied. It can all be welcomed into this space, into this openness, into this forgiven perspective. In which the mind can relax completely. And so let your mind just sink inward as if you're relaxing into a deep sleep. It will not be a sleep like you're used to, but a sleep only in the sense of feeling totally relaxed. As your body relaxes, your mind actually becomes alert and present and aware and focused. Focused on the sound of the music and on these words that I'm offering you now. These words which, when taken symbolically, can produce profound healing in the mind. Profound healing from grievances, pain, addiction, you can allow yourself to simply rest, knowing that you don't have to do any of the work. You can trust in the Holy Spirit to do all the heavy lifting, all the healing, all the deep shifts that will take place in the mind are all coming from that deep wisdom, the one who is with us, who knows our best interest, and who loves us so deeply. That one who knows our true self, and who knows that it is literally impossible that we could have ever separated from God. Who knows that we are perfectly innocent because nothing has ever happened. Even the things that we think have happened in our personal life were just part of a dream sequence which never had anything to do with who we truly are. And the love that is here now is all we deserve. And it is all we have ever wanted. So feel the breath coming into your mouth or your nose, and feel the exhale as well. Feel the feeling in your body, in your stomach. Notice Notice the emotions and be very open and accepting of everything that you're experiencing. Because you are loved and you are worthy of a profound shift in awareness in which your life is healed completely, in which no trace of guilt remains, and your mind is stayed on God. This is what this session is for. So take another breath in, a deep breath. And as you exhale, allow yourself to sink even deeper, all the way down into the peace, into the unconscious mind. It's okay. It's perfectly safe. And I'd like you now to imagine that you are at the top of a stairway with 10 steps, and that this stairway leads down deeper into your mind, and although it may seem frightening, although it may seem dark to go down deeper into your mind, I want you to know that I'm with you, and that we have a torch, we have a lamp of love and light with which we can see everything that is unhealed, and we can see the innocence that is beyond everything. The innocence beyond all the symbols that were made to cover that innocence. And so in a moment, you and I are going to look right through the darkness together. We're going to be guided down these steps by the Holy Spirit. And we're going to walk through the darkness into the light. And so I'm going to count down from 10 down to 1. And with every step, you'll become more relaxed and also more alert and vigilant to look directly into the eyes of whatever has frightened you before. Knowing that who you are is infinite, powerful, and full of light. And when we reach the bottom of the steps, we will be guided in a specific way so that everything that needs to be faced can be faced very gently, very orchestrated, in a way that will be very healing, so that forgiveness occurs. And the Spirit can remind you that nothing has ever gone wrong, and that the entire sonship, all our brothers and sisters, are still in the mind of God, simply dreaming. And so we're going to take the first step now from 10 down to 9. Relaxing everything. Feeling the peace of God stirring in your heart. Knowing that this journey is taking you home. 8. Another step down. With your spiritual eyes open. Trusting that nothing can keep you from your true inheritance. The light of God shines through you now. 7. Feeling the peace radiating through you, and allowing everything that is not that to be allowed into awareness. Whether it's fear, discomfort, guilt. It's all very welcome in this space in which we are joined with the Holy Spirit, with the light of Christ. 6. All the way down, deeper and deeper. 5. Relaxing to 4. Down to 3. And when we reach the bottom of the steps, you will hear me snap my fingers. And that will be the signal to let go completely, to fully trust the Holy Spirit, even if just for a little while, to bring complete healing to your mind. 3. All the way down into deep, perfect trust. 2. All the way down. 1 and 0. Now, let go and experience this moment. Everything is perfectly okay, surrounded by love. Nothing can hurt us. And all can be seen. That's it. Allowing yourself to just be very aware and very alert. The peace of God is all that is. The darkness cannot withstand the light. And all the symbols that you see around you And even the symbol of the one that you think that you are is but a thought in your perfectly holy mind. Nothing you ever seemed to do had any effect on your spiritual reality. Nothing that you ever seemed to have done to you ever had any effect on your spiritual reality. Divine truth is forever unchanged and untainted by that which occurs in dreaming. The dream was only a dream. And the Christ is within you now. Nothing can keep you from this reality. And nothing can tempt you to deny it any longer. So just surrender. Surrender to the reality that God created for you, as you, and allow all else to be seen as the illusion that it always was. The illusion that never had any effect on you whatsoever. Any of the addictions, the pains, the struggles, were merely distractions to keep you from looking inward and remembering who you are. The one that you are has never had a problem. The one that you are has never had an issue with anything. The one that you are has no addictions. No difficulties or challenges. The one that you are remains as pristine as it was created by God. And so you can take that in and notice all the past issues dissolving away. And you may perhaps see the light that is streaming in through the darkness now. here in your unconscious mind, where the illusions can be looked at and seen not as bad nor as good, but simply as unreal. They give way to the light beyond them. And that light surrounds us now. You can hear the music of the angels and the words of peace and tenderness. This experience will remain with you for it cannot be forgotten. The peace of God is my one goal. From this day forward, the peace of God is my one goal will be a mental reminder that you can invoke each and every time there is temptation. Each and every time you find yourself struggling with what seems to be a personal issue, such as pain, or sickness, or addiction, the peace of God is my one goal, can be called into awareness as a memory of what is, as a memory of what has never been lost and which abides with you now, which you can hear and feel and see. And so it is now time to gently open our mind not in the usual way, but in a way that is perfectly guided by Spirit. Not in a way that requires effort of any kind, but in a way that feels totally involuntary and perfectly relaxing. The light that you've experienced here inside of your mind, in the depths of your unconscious mind, will come with you as we walk back up the steps in a moment, back into perfectly normal conscious awareness. And it will make everything that you see seem brighter, everything that you hear seem crisper, and everything that you feel more alive, present, and profound. And so I'm now going to begin to count from 1 back up to 10, and we will return to the state of conscious, perfect awareness, surrounded by the light that we are. So go ahead and step onto the first step there, number 1. And allow the light that surrounds you to infuse you. 2. As if you're being lifted by the Spirit and by angels that surround you. You are returning to what seems to be your normal life, but it will no longer be the same. 3. Because now you can see with the eyes of vision. And feel the innocence of a little child in your heart, knowing this child is you. 4. Feels so good to just relax, let go, and know that you're being lifted higher and higher on the wings of love. 5. 6. 7. Coming all the way back. 8. Returning to awareness. You may begin to feel your eyes slowly opening. 9. And 10. Go ahead and feel yourself coming back to conscious awareness. And I'll leave the music on a little bit longer. Yeah, and just sink in this moment for a few moments. Just let yourself gradually kind of integrate, kind of just feel yourself and everything that's moving through. Okay. So, that was a hypnotherapy session. And it's funny, it's actually been quite a while since I've actually facilitated one of these. I think the last time was, I did a video where I didn't have anyone kind of participating at the time. Maybe people were watching. I was facilitating as if people were watching later on YouTube, but I did one several weeks ago on YouTube, but I think it's actually been over a year or two since I've actually done one where there were people participating at the same time and receiving it. So yeah, I'm really grateful. That was actually really healing for me as well. Just feeling the spirit coming through. So we have just about 9 more minutes until it's been an hour and a half, and I just want to open it up in case any of you have any thoughts you want to share, or if you had any experiences during that you would like to share, then feel free to unmute your microphone and do so. And if you're feeling just kind of empty and no words coming, that's perfectly okay as well. It's pretty normal to feel a sense of just kind of deep peace and yeah. And also any of you watching on the outside, if you have any thoughts you want to share and what you experience, I'd love to hear. Yeah, this is what it's all for. This whole journey is about this experience of stillness and yeah, of really allowing the mind to just go through a metamorphosis, a deep healing that cannot really be understood intellectually. And there's a lot of people who are studying the Course who, and I was one of them myself, who think that enlightenment or that the peace of God is going to come through an intellectual endeavor of just kind of mastering the Course and understanding it. And I think that is a very, very important phase that many of us go through, where it's important to come to an intellectual clarity, it seems, but really it's about an experience that is totally beyond the intellect. And yeah, that's what hypnotherapy can do. It can help to kind of guide the mind into an actual experience and help, especially for those of us who are highly intellectual, it can be helpful in getting us in touch with our emotions, kind of moving from the head to the heart, so to speak. That's a metaphor for just getting down into the bodily sensations, which can often be quite repressed for those of us who tend to think a lot. And so, I just want to invite you, anyone who's watching this, to just really open your mind to having a deeper experience of what A Course in Miracles is offering. And if you would like a hypnotherapy session in private, I offer those as well. And you can just connect with me through the website acimmusic.org. And I'm just very available and very open, and I just love when people reach out and are open to receiving a very deep experience that can really bring healing, not just on the deep level, but in specific ways. And I think those of you who went through this session will notice some changes occurring over the next, just some differences in the way that you feel, and especially as it relates to the specific the addictions or the things that seem to be ailing you. Often when we bring those experiences to the light, which is what this kind of interaction is a symbol of, then there's a very instant miraculous healing that occurs, and it may be kind of like the ceiling fan analogy, where it just sort of slows down, but the power has been pulled. the plug has been pulled from the ego, and it's really just a matter of allowing the healing to continue now, and being very gentle with ourselves, because the ego can get quite vicious, especially when we start to do things like this, where we're really, putting our trust in the Holy Spirit and being willing to open our mind in a way that we never have done so before. Then the ego will definitely rear its ugly head and warn you of all kinds of things, like it will tell you that you're going insane. It will tell you that that you're going to become too strange to the rest of the world, and that people won't love you anymore. It will tell you that you'll end up homeless. This journey of awakening is very, very profound. It really is a path of emptying the mind of everything it thinks it thinks. Everything it thinks and thinks it knows, until it's completely empty and full of only the peace of God. So I really just encourage you to use that idea that I shared in the session of the peace of God is my one goal, and that can be like a mantra that you can use for anything, whenever there seems to be a challenge or a temptation going on, craving, anything. So I just want to thank you all so much for joining me in this session, and I made you more of these. This was kind of new for me. It was, like I said, I haven't done hypnotherapy in quite a long time, but feels like I may be guided to do more of these types of sessions, and I'm also very available for one-on-one private sessions for any of those of you who feel the desire. Okay, well, thank you all for being here, and
Thank you.
Thank you, Erik.
you're so welcome. What an absolute joy. Bye for now.
Bye, thank you.
You're welcome.